podcast setup.
Yeah, it's quite good.
I quite like it.
It would be good if we had... Actually, no. I was going to say it would be good if we had like a larger table in the middle of the room. But then it's just the two of us. It doesn't really matter.
We're like really far away from each other, like a kind of like a fancy like dinner at Wayne Manor or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're recording, and I will throw over to you, Savvy, to kick this thing off.
Cool. Hello there. I'm Will. He's Pete, and we're Woolly Savage. Pete, how you doing?
I'm right. I'm pretty good. I'm just like, we're just chilling and talking.
Yes. We're in a cabin, and it's quite hot.
It is, yeah. We're recording. If it's, you might get a lot of sounds of nature and what have you, because we're kind of like, like we've got all the windows and doors open because it's so hot.
Yes, we're very naturey. That's our vibe.
Yeah. Anyway, what are we doing here? What's this meant to be?
So, recently you played Outlast.
I did.
I made you play Outlast.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to discuss that today. So, I guess like a bit of background on the two of us. We make films together. Well, even before that, we went to school together. We're very good friends. We've known each other for a long time. I can't do the maths right now.
Like 15 years or something like that? More than that? 17 years?
It's almost 20.
Yeah.
Which is depressing. But yeah, so we make films together. We both enjoy playing games, enjoy watching stuff. So so we started doing a gaming channel. And it's interesting the way it works is that I tend to pick the games and you tend to play the games, and the reason for that is I guess I'm more of like a gaming nerd and you're more, I don't know, like a casual gamer, I guess.
Yeah, that's true,
you tend to play AAA type games. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the way we did it is just like it'll be interesting on this channel to explore different types of games.
Yeah.
Horror is one of those because we both like horror. And yeah, Outlast was just kind of the first one we went with. So yeah, I guess how did you find the game? Just your kind of general thoughts.
Well, so I wasn't entirely unfamiliar with it because I have watched segments of other people's Let's Plays over the years. It's always like it's quite a popular one for people to do Let's Plays on. Even like people who don't normally do Let's Plays often do an Outlast Let's Play just as like a one-off, or at least I've experienced that. So, but it was my first time actually playing it myself and playing it all the way through, and it was pretty scary. It was more scary than I expected because with horror films, I've become so desensitized to them that they can make me feel uncomfortable and unnerve me now, but the jump scares in them don't affect me at all anymore. Because I always know when they're coming, so it's just like, has no effect on me. But in this, it's quite, the jump scares do get me, and did quite a lot.
Yeah, and I mean that's an interesting kind of role reversal because you watch a lot more horror, like film or TV stuff than I do. So usually I'm a lot more sensitive to being scared by that type of stuff. But obviously, I've played a lot more horror games than you have. So it was enjoyable for me for the boot to be on the other foot.
Yeah. Do you still get scared by the jump scares? Because you seem to scream as much as me when they happen. So.
Yes, I do. I mean, so with this specifically, because I've played Outlast a few times and I've seen other people play it. It was like some of them, if I know they're coming, I think I generally laughed.
Yeah.
But what made them scarier was if I'd just completely forgotten that a jump scare is there. So it was quite interesting with this game actually. So usually I have quite a good, if I've played a game, usually I have quite a good like map in my head of where things are. Like if there's a game I haven't played for 10 years, I could probably play it now, kind of know where stuff is. But with Outlast, I don't really have that. Mm-hmm. Like I know there are sections of the game in different places, etc., but like I couldn't tell you necessarily. There were loads of sections of the game that I forgot even existed.
Yeah.
And that actually made it scarier in some ways.
Yeah. No, it was pretty scary. I mean, I think the thing about it is this kind of goes without saying really, but it's like the reason why the jump scares are worse in games versus film is because you're just so much more concentrating on the task you're trying to perform in the game that forget about the possibility that something scary is about to happen. So and as well as that, like when you're so because of the particulars of what you can and can't do in the game, like you're such a kind of passenger in this game. You can't do anything to your enemies, can you? You can't fight back in any way. You just have to run. So that probably adds a little extra something.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, it's also interesting, like playing a game versus watching someone else play a game. Because when you're watching someone else, you're just thinking like, God, I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have gone down there. And
actually, that's funny because like the jump scares, I think when I've watched other people play this game, haven't really got me. I don't think.
Yes.
But when you are playing it yourself, they definitely do.
Yeah, I mean, you're a lot more kind of immersed in everything that's going on when you're playing yourself, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I guess the reason I picked Outlast is. And I said this to you yesterday when obviously we weren't recording because we didn't record overnight.
Yeah.
That I think Outlast is just a really, really good like intro to horror games.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It introduces you to, firstly, like the idea that you're defenseless, which a lot of horror games you're defenseless or like you have like a very slight ability to defend yourself. The idea of like, you know, throughout the game, a lot of the time you go to a place and it's like, do a thing and then hide from an enemy and then sneak around and run away and stuff like that. That kind of a mechanic is quite common in horror games. But yeah, I mean, I think Outlast, it's a good length, and also there's nothing special about it, and I mean that like in a good way. It's just humans chasing you. There's no like monsters with special powers, etc., etc. Well, yeah. Generally, like things that you have to worry about are normal humans, and you just having to sneak around.
Yeah.
Or abnormal humans, I guess.
Yeah. The ones that like tear your head off your body.
Yes.
Or your body off your head, I guess it was.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, so you know, something that you'll find as we go is that like a lot of horror games will feel somewhat similar to Outlast.
Yeah.
Yeah, so do you feel like you've been introduced to horror gaming successfully?
No. Yes, I have. Yeah, no, it's. I think it was a good start because, like, even though I was surprised at how scary I found it.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like. It feels like a fairly kind of, in relative terms, gentle kind of sort of introduction into that sphere. So.
Yeah.
It makes me scared for what will be next after it.
Yes, I mean, you are already aware that Alien Isolation is on the list.
Yeah, I've watched little clips of that as well, other people playing that, but that was right back when it came out, and it's a few years old now, isn't it? So. Yes,
I can tell you it is horrible. It is absolutely horrible. We will be doing like 2-minute episodes of that.
Yeah, well, that's actually, when we did this series, we planned out from the start to do like roughly 20-minute episodes, and actually that worked out quite well anyway, because it seems like each kind of like sort of mission section or kind of like chapter of the game actually is 20 minutes anyway, so it all lined up quite nicely.
Yes.
With you like having to perform a task, a particular task in a particular area, that takes roughly 20 minutes or something. So but that ended up being like dog barking. That ended up being like okay. That ended up being like the break in each of those episodes was always like a nice relieving moment, because like the tension sort of builds up increasingly throughout the episode, and you feel you need a break from it after at least I did. Maybe I'm just more like sensitive to horror gaming than the normal person. But
I mean, I think when you're playing, you need I think it affects you more when you're playing. So like often the way we would do it is we would do like a 20-minute episode, and then we'd basically just sit quietly for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You just be like, oh, I just need a few minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so that's interesting. How did you feel about, I guess, the length of the game? Was it shorter or longer than you expected?
It was probably roughly the length I would have guessed. Yeah, I mean, it was good length. We almost got it done in 2 days, didn't we?
Yeah.
But we just missed, like, we finished recording it yesterday, and we took a big break in between recording the first, what was it, 21 episodes?
Yes.
And then the last 2, because, like, we just didn't quite finish. But yeah, we've got right up to the end, so it's what, 8 hours in total, is it, the game?
I think it would probably be 5, maybe.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, so but I had kind of like forgotten a lot of, what happened in the week, however long ago it was we recorded the first majority of it, like several weeks or a couple of months or something ago, I can't remember. But it seemed like quite a different game by the end of it, actually. Like, that section you go into at the end, underground, it's like, it's very kind of like, very different to everything you've experienced before. It almost feels like it's part of a different story.
Yes, yeah. And I remember, like, the first time the lift took me underground, and it's just like in this icy corridor. I was just like, this is not what I was expecting in this game. It's turned into like a sci-fi horror.
Yeah, exactly. It's cool though. It was a cool place.
Yes, I mean it was interesting, and obviously they kind of added that element for exposition purposes.
Yeah.
How did you feel about? I know you don't remember most of the story because it's been months since we did most of it. But how did you feel about the ending? And I guess what you can remember of the story generally.
Yeah, I think actually I may have watched the ending a few years ago on someone else's Let's Play, because I seem to remember parts of it, but like I didn't know that was going to happen. I didn't remember it that well, but like when it actually happened, I think I might have seen it before. But yeah, no, I think it's a good ending. I said to you when, I mean, we can just spoil it because it's like, why not?
Yeah.
But I said to you when the ghosty man, what was he called?
The Wall Rider.
The Wall Rider, that's it. When he flies into your character, you were, and I was asking questions about it afterwards, you were trying not to say much because you didn't want to spoil what was just about to happen.
Yes.
But like they tried to play it off in the game like it's all over, like the Wall Rider's just disappeared, but like rather than it having like gone into his body and he's now the host for it, because it was like obvious that that's what happened because you saw it go into his body.
Yeah.
And then they try and play it off like that hasn't happened. But so yeah, I wasn't overly surprised when he turns up and the SWAT team like fires at him in the end because like that obviously.
Yes.
But it was a good ending though.
Yeah, and I mean it's an interesting story generally in that it kind of, again, it's like it's fairly basic horror but done well, and it's kind of like it's an insane asylum and people are acting crazy and something's happened and people are seeing a ghost, but then as you go you figure out that actually it's like this evil corporation experimenting on people and going down an Umbrella Corp from Resident Evil route, but you're not particularly well versed with Resident Evil. So
No, I'm not. No.
not a particularly useful reference to make.
Or even remotely versed.
Well, you will become versed with Resident Evil.
It looks like a fun series to play, the Resident Evil games. I've seen little clips here and there, and
yes,
the newer ones look pretty good.
Yes, and they're not. I would say they're not too scary generally.
Okay.
But there are sections that are very scary. But I mean, we can talk about that when we do Resident Evil some more.
Yeah. What did you think about the way our series went? Like in terms of how we did as like hosts, or the way we recorded and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think we naturally have like a fairly laid back kind of vibe, and I think that showed in terms of our like hosting or presenting.
Yeah.
I mean, I think generally it's pretty good. So something I noticed is that you were quite, I think, quick to get through the game.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Oh, as in my playing style.
Yes.
Yeah, how I like to just like run through rooms and stuff, and
Yes. I mean, not as in. So you were thorough in terms of like going around looking for documents and stuff like that, but just in terms of like horror sections, I think your natural inclination is to just like run.
yeah, it is. It definitely is. And actually, I had to cut this out of one of our episodes because it lasted too long and like it didn't really fit into the flow of the episode. But we had like an extended conversation about this in one of the episodes where we talk about like how you're much more of a sneaker and I'm much more of a runner.
Yeah.
And yeah, what we came to the conclusion of there was that it might be that like part of running through is like it maybe takes a layer away of tension. Because
Yes, it does, absolutely.
but then there's a different kind of tension with it in that you have to find your exit quickly.
Yes.
So it's like a kind of like parkour situation where you're like improvising along the way, trying to like find your run routes and squeeze through stuff rather than, you know, slowly working out the environment to see where you can go.
Yes, I mean something I did find quite fun when we had like running sections was me like shouting directions at you.
That was useful.
Yes, I mean I think yeah, I mean I don't know. I don't know if I have like a better, I don't know how to put it, like sense of direction in games. I'm not sure.
Possibly.
Because I know when we've played other games in like co-op things before. So like when we've played like zombies on Call of Duty, and there's like you need to go around searching for stuff.
Oh yeah, you're the better searcher in those. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I don't know if I have like a better map of games in
You
my
probably
head.
do. Yeah.
That's my superpower there.
I think you probably do. Yeah. Because sometimes like I don't know. I didn't in this particular game. I didn't find the layout particularly difficult to memorize. It was just like in those high octane tense situations where I'm running around screaming.
Yes, you have to make a decision very quickly.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's useful to have like a teammate to just like you can handle the mechanics of just running, and then your teammate can focus on where you're going to run. So
yeah,
you can like outsource that part of the process.
yeah. No, it is useful actually to be able to like just give some of the thinking to someone else during a chaotic situation.
Yeah, definitely.
And I did find that quite fun as well.
You could do a horror game where if you had like a multiplayer version of Outlast where it was like online, you could do a version where like one of you is the the main character, the victim, the protagonist, whatever you want to call it, and the other person or team or whatever are the inmates chasing you around and stuff, and that could be fun. We should pitch that to what's the studio who makes Outlast?
That's Red Barrels.
Is it?
Yes. So there is actually. I mean, there are multiplayer horror games where it's like one villain and multiple people trying to escape or whatever. Yeah. There are quite a few like that, like Dead by Daylight, and Friday the 13th as well, where someone plays as Jason and everyone else plays as other people.
All the victims of Jason.
Yes, and they're quite interesting. So in terms of Outlast, there is a sequel, Outlast 2.
Yeah.
I'm not as keen on Outlast 2 as I am on Outlast.
Right. Okay.
That's not to say that we won't play it. I don't know. It just, we'll see. Well, like it's on the list, so maybe at some point we'll play it. There is also actually came out recently a multiplayer Outlast game.
Cool.
Outlast Trials, I believe.
Oh, okay.
I haven't really looked at it, so I don't know. But,
that might be fun to check out.
Yes, but unfortunately, there is already a multiplayer Outlast game. So
yeah, there are DLCs as well, aren't there? There's at least one DLC for the first one, isn't there?
Yes, so there's the Whistleblower DLC, which has some interesting sequences in.
Okay.
Which we'll get round to playing at some point. So I mean, I guess like moving away from Outlast to our gaming stuff more generally, the way I've kind of been planning it is that there are like 3 types of games we'll play. So like horror games, because obviously that's just fun.
Yeah.
Both it's interesting for us because we're interested in horror, and also it's fun for other people because we scream a lot.
Exactly.
And then, like, aside from that, aside from horror games that are interesting, so, like, I guess games that tell, like, an interesting narrative, or tell a story in an interesting way, or through kind of mechanics that you don't usually find in games.
Yeah.
Also, like, obviously one of the things with games is that, like, a lot of games are fairly similar in the sense of, like, if you play a game on the PS4, you probably know what 95% of the controls are.
Yeah, true, yeah.
And like, yeah, I think it's interesting to explore things that are a bit different, and then also just some games that are like fun or funny or whatever. So I haven't. Next, we'll do something that's like hopefully funny or fun or entertaining.
Yeah, to take the pressure off the. Release the pressure valve a bit from the horror situation.
Yes. So, I mean, I don't know exactly what it will be, but it'll be maybe something like Overcooked, if people are familiar with that. So,
I'm not. So.
No, I mean, it's. Let me tell you, it's more stressful than Outlast.
Oh, great.
But yeah, I mean that's what we have planned. So it'll be interesting to see where we go.
Great. Well, we started this whole idea off for doing a Let's Play channel. The first thing we were planning to kick it off with originally was The Last of Us 2, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, which I haven't played yet.
Yeah, because that was the plan. You were going to play that while I was going to be the backseat driver or the directions guy or whatever the other guy in the room.
Yes.
Which I don't know. Maybe we'll do that eventually, but I don't think that's an imminent priority, is it?
No, I mean, well, yeah. I mean, I guess there were a couple of reasons for that. One is just like they're gonna. Certainly, at the time we were discussing it, there were going to be 1 million people putting up Let's Plays of The Last of Us 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, also, I don't know how interesting a game it is to, like, watch as a Let's Play.
I think it's more interesting rather than for the... I mean, the gameplay itself is quite fun to watch, but it's the reaction to the person playing that is is the real draw, I think.
Yes. So I feel like it's a Let's Play that you'd enjoy more if you already kind of know the person playing it. Not know as in are friends with, but, if like you've seen them play other stuff and you're kind of used to them as an individual.
And, exactly. And, for context, like we're both big fans of the first Last of Us game, aren't we?
Yes.
Both love that game. And I've played the second one and so I know what happens in it, but yeah, that's
yes. You were a victim to the spoilers, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I was. I knew like the major details of it before I played it, which kind of ruined it a little bit for me.
Yeah.
But have you still managed to stay oblivious to all that?
Largely, there is one major thing that I know happened.
Okay.
But I was fairly certain that was going to happen beforehand, so like it did. I mean, it's interesting. So I think I've said before, like generally, it's funny. Like I don't try necessarily to avoid spoilers because spoilers don't really bother me that much.
Yeah.
Unless like the purpose of the game or film or whatever is specifically like the twist at the end.
Yeah.
So like if I saw the spoilers for The Last of Us 2, I probably wouldn't really care that much. But yeah, I'm the only person who hasn't, like on the planet
in the world.
Yeah.
That'll be a fun one to get to at some point. It is like the gameplay for it is pretty fun as well. It's like you'll have fun actually playing it. It's nice, kind of like obviously very similar to the first one, but just more slick and stuff.
Yes. Yeah. No. I mean, from what I've seen, it looks fun. So maybe that's something we'll do at some point. Put me in the hot seat.
Yeah, exactly.
So how did you feel about the mechanic of like looking for a place to hide and then going and doing stuff? So because the reason I ask is one of the things that I've read before about people who didn't like Outlast is they thought that element of it got repetitive.
I suppose. I mean, I never really viewed it that way because it's quite a short game, so it never really felt like it didn't feel like it really lasted long enough to start to feel that repetitive. So I don't think that was an issue personally, but I mean when you bring that up. I suppose if you think about it, it does have a pretty limited range of things you can do.
Yeah.
It is just hiding and running, basically, isn't it? And occasionally looking for like a key or a key card or something.
Yes. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but the game, like, maybe 20 minutes in does literally say, like, you can't fight. Run or hide or die. Those are your options. Exactly. No, I agree. Like, it's I don't think it's necessarily an invalid criticism, but you know, one of the reasons horror games tend to be short, especially if they're not like action horrors where you have a shotgun or whatever, is just because the scare wears off over time, and like there's not that much you can do in a horror game aside from run and hide. So it's kind of like introduce you to the scare, you get used to the scare, and you have to go and do things, and then it's the end of the game, and whatever happens, and it winds up. But yeah, I mean, again, like I said, it's a mechanic that you will get very very used to.
Yeah, no, it is, and you know that's fine. That's fine for what it was, because I think the scariness of what was going on was generally intense enough to make the mechanics of what you were doing not feel too repetitive. Like you didn't focus on. It didn't feel like, oh no, here's another locker to hide in. It felt like, oh good, a locker, so I can get away from these people. Yes,
yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting as well. So I guess, like we mentioned earlier, your approach was often to kind of like just run into situations and then find the exit. And Outlast is a game that you can do that in, because kind of like what I was going back to earlier, it's like a fairly... There's nothing like particularly special about it. It's just guys with clubs chasing you around. Whereas obviously in other horror games, and again I'm thinking of Alien Isolation, that doesn't work. I'm pretty sure one of the like, you know when you've got like a loading screen or a death screen, it gives you a tip. I'm pretty sure one of the tips you get in Alien Isolation is don't try and outrun the alien.
Oh really?
Yes.
Right.
So yeah, I mean it'll be interesting to see how your approach to like horror gaming evolves.
Sure.
As the horror ratchets up.
Yeah, that will be interesting. I mean, taking away the option to just run around is not going to be an easy adjustment for me. But I'll try and force myself not to do that, I suppose, when the time comes. So, in terms of the future horror games you're planning to introduce me to, like, what are the kind of like gradations of complexity to the mechanics? Like, how far up does that scale go? Is it like totally like, you know, sort of disconnected from anything Outlast style, or is it like variations of the Outlast style of gameplay but with a bit more to do?
Yeah, so I'd say it kind of varies, I guess. So I tend to see horror games on like a spectrum. So I'd say at one end you got stuff that's quite like action horror. So some of the Resident Evil games, for example.
Yeah, I've seen some
where
of
like it's scary at times, but a lot of it is running around shooting zombies, and it's a bit more like an action in a horror setting. And then at the other end, you've got like pure horrors, and those are like basically just very scary walking simulators. And like the mechanics are far less than they are in Outlast.
They're like a ghost train at a fairground or something.
Yes, and those can be absolutely horrible. They can be. So that there is one thing that I absolutely refuse to play. It's called PT. I'm guessing you've never heard of it.
No.
So it's basically a walking simulator, and the backstory of it is PT. So PT is short for playable teaser,
right?
And it was made. It was a playable teaser for a Silent Hill game, if I remember correctly, made by Hideo Kojima. So he made the Silent Hill games and Metal Gear Solid, and just like a very good, very very good game making person. He made Death Stranding as well.
Okay.
And they never made the game that came after it, because if I remember correctly, he fell out with the studio and they left. So PT actually like just ceased to exist, but people had it downloaded on their PlayStation.
Okay.
And it exists in this kind of like abandonware state. But I mean, now you can find it and stuff on the internet. and it is horrible. It is
Is it?
absolutely horrible. There's just one. You're basically just walking through this house over and over again, and I can't tell you what it. Actually, I can tell you what it is. Basically, there's a woman who will try and kill you at points, and there's not much going on. It's just a corridor and a bathroom and doors and noises and lights. But it's just... The reason it gets me is because it takes a long time to like figure out what the rules are in terms of like when you're vulnerable, when you're not. Because you can be just walking down the corridor thinking you're absolutely fine, and you can just get got.
Right.
And it's terrifying. And that's something unless at some point we hit like 1 million subscribers, that's something we will never play. But that kind of
when you say that's something we will never play, that now we have to do it at some point because people would just bug us relentlessly.
Yes, I mean, look, that's an incentive to get to 1 million subscribers.
Yeah.
That's, and you know,
by next week.
Yeah. So we've only got 1 million left to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That intrigues me.
Yes.
Hearing...
So like I would say Outlast kind of sits in the middle of that spectrum.
Okay.
Where it's like there are some gameplay mechanics. Obviously, you know, you choose whether you live or die by by what you do. But at the same time, there wasn't really much action in it. So yeah, it kind of varies. And even something like Alien Isolation, although it's very scary because there's a xenomorph chasing you a lot of the time, it's more at the action end. Like it's not like there's loads of scripted horror. And that's actually the reason it's very scary.
Sure.
Is it's not scripted. It just puts you in an area, and it's like you now go and survive the xenomorph while you do whatever the objective is in this area.
Okay. Yeah. No, I remember when I watched the little bits of it when the game first came out. I can remember watching a player do the bit where they find the gun. There's a bit where you find a gun. And how useful is that gun? Does it do much? Or because knowing the Alien films, like guns aren't that effective against aliens.
Yes. So I mean the xenomorph isn't the only antagonist in the game, but you kind of get a range of like devices and things you can use to make distractions, defend yourself to an extent. But it's like, you know, one of the things that you will find very often in horror is, again, we didn't have this in Outlast, but in Alien Isolation, and especially in Resident Evil, this is like a hallmark of Resident Evil, is that like you'll have like a gun and you'll have like 3 bullets, something like that. So it's like, you know, if you're having to defend yourself very often, you're going to die at some point in the future because you've used all your bullets now, type thing.
Yeah, no, that's quite a cool. I like having to be very selective with how you use your tools in games. Yes. Sometimes it's. I mean, I do and I don't. Like when
it's a cool mechanic, but it's also annoying when you're playing the game.
To jump around topics a bit more, I noticed, having watched back some of our Let's Play videos to edit them, and I said this to you already, but how variable our energy levels are from episode to episode.
Yes.
There are some where we're quite, like high energy and stuff, and then it's clear that by the next episode we've become a bit tired. We're not really saying much, and what we are saying is a bit like low energy.
Yeah, I mean, well, we did those 21 episodes in like a day and a half or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And it did reach the point where it would be like, do an episode, take a 5-minute break, do an episode, take a 5-minute break, do an episode, take 5... Like, we'd do like 4 episodes like that.
But some people live stream 4 hours of gameplay in a row and manage to keep up a fairly good energy level, don't they?
Yes, I mean, I think there are a couple of things. I think that's like
practice, I guess.
Yes, and it's, people who stream for hours, like that's kind of their job.
Yeah.
So it's easier to like put in that effort when it's like that's the thing that you're doing today.
Yeah.
Whereas this was like the weekend, having worked all week.
Yeah.
And also, like I was saying, I think we have quite a laid back vibe compared to other people.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Like generally, we will just open our videos with like, "Hey, we're back." That's what I said.
Yeah, I said in one of the videos, I can't remember if it's one I've uploaded yet or not, but I said in one of them that we probably need to like get better at doing outros to the videos, because we're just like gonna let it trail off, basically, pretty much, and just say goodbye, and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, intros are fairly easy. Outros are like, I don't know. Loads of people have like a phrase they use or something. I know you're. I know you're a big fan of "keep on trucking."
Yeah, but I've only said that to you personally. I've never said it in any of our videos.
No, not yet. Anyway.
Yeah, I always, when we have like video calls, I said it once on one occasion because I was just like rambling, and then that's just what came out.
Yeah.
And then I've said it subsequently every other time now.
Yes.
So I'm stuck with it.
Yeah. We don't even know what it means.
I've heard other people say it.
Oh yeah, no, like I've heard loads of people say it, but like
Yeah.
I don't have a truck.
I hope it's not like a bigoted slur or something. I've accidentally.
I don't think it is.
All these truck drivers coming out saying, "Don't you know?" All right. Well, I think that's probably about the end of that, isn't it? That was our Outlast post-game talk. So, yeah, you got any closing thoughts?
No, I mean it was fun. I'm looking forward to the next thing we play and then talking about it afterwards.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So this was fun. We'll probably do post-game podcasts like this for every game we play if it warrants it. Like if it's a really short thing, maybe it won't really be worth doing. But for the bigger ones like Outlast and stuff like that, it's probably a good idea to do this and give our thoughts on how it all went.
Yes.
All right. Well, so this is the, what are we called? The Woolly Savage Gaming channel that you're listening to this on. Yeah, that's about it. So like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, or if you enjoy Let's Play videos, or like other gaming related videos, because there'll probably be other little gaming pieces here and there on this channel. And other than that, just
Bye.
yeah, bye. All right, bye.